and welcome to Manned Up Conversations, where we connect with evolving men to discuss issues around masculinity and manhood, and also provide tools to help us be better for our society.
Sometimes when a person loves you and they love you for you, then it really doesn't matter who's the reacher and who's the settler. In fact, if anything, she feels she reached, you feel you reached. We both feel like reachers in a relationship.
Oh man.
That's a beautiful balance. It's a great place to find where, you know, each person keeps going, I don't know how I got this lucky to have such an amazing person in my life.
I feel like that should be like the standard, like for most relationships.
Should be,
yeah.
But man, do you know how hard it is to find that balance?
Sure.
Especially because on a superficial level, there'll probably be people who look, you know, from the outside and consider one of you a reacher and one of you a settler.
Okay, man.
Let's do it.
Oh man. Man, this is an exciting day for me, man. You know, I guess if you really listen to Manned Up, you're like, dude, you're always excited, man. But
I was gonna say,
I look forward to like every time I meet someone new, man.
Yeah.
And who's like, just the energy is just always like on point. I'm like, yeah, man, we gotta do the right thing. So I'm here with my brother, man, Mr. Yende.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, man.
Yes, sir.
Author extraordinaire. I'm sure you've like heard him on radio before. If you haven't, you probably picked a bone with him because, man, this man wrote. I think you kind of gave the game away over here, man. You gave the game away here, man. But before we get into that, bro, how are you doing today, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Listen, I'm psyched. I'm excited to be doing this. I've caught a few of your podcasts in the past, and you know,
yeah, man.
So I looked and I was like, hey, why aren't? What happened, man? I want to be part of this conversation. What's going on? How did I miss this boat?
Yeah,
so I'm really excited to be here.
Okay,
I really am. It's cool.
Awesome, pleasure. I mean, this is my second time meeting you officially. We rapped on the phone a couple of times.
Sure.
And you know, when I met you, I was like, man, where's this guy from? Because you got this like, can I call it a unique accent? And I'm like, maybe this guy was States, he studied there somewhere.
Bro,
so tell us a bit about yourself.
You know, it's a funny thing, because if I ever talk to Brits, they'll say I have an Americanish accent, and if I talk to Americans, they'll say I have a British accent.
Oh man!
I've even heard Scottish at one point.
I
don't know. I don't know, man. But you know, I'm from DK, Soweto, Deep Kloof in Soweto. Very much a Zulu boy. I've actually been challenged about this one. I've got to stop calling myself a Joburg Zulu, Muzulu. But you know, I'm a Zulu guy with a lot of influences.
Sure.
And I think there's a concept called mirroring. And mirroring is if I talk to a Praetorian, I'll eventually be speaking, you know, Tswana Pedi, Sako Pitori.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
And how I learn how to pronounce things, I learn from hearing you say it the way that you do. So I suppose, you know, you watch TV, those influences tell you, oh, okay, I've read this word so many times, I had no idea how to say it, and you end up saying it like that. And you end up pronouncing it like that. So long story short, I mean, I don't know. I've never known how to explain, you know, the way Kibuanka thing.
Sure.
I'm just that guy. I mean, I grew up Kokasi, and man Zulu.
Sure.
Proper.
Yeah, man.
You know, and sometimes Hakibua Sotu, then Kibua Sotu. You know, and I try to be as authentic to whatever language I'm speaking as I possibly can. Prata biki Afrikaans.
Wow. I should try the accent. That's what I talk about. Yeah, man. I get
you know,
Sure.
that's just what this melting pot has created out of me. I did go to a private school. I was very fortunate, you know, back in the 80s. I mean, I'm almost 50, bruh.
Man.
So,
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
you know, so I went to a private school. So you get there and you learn the language and you speak how your teacher speaks, or you speak how the people around you speak. If I go to eThekwini for a month, I'll come back sounding like umZulu Paka.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
The downside to that is I'm probably the annoying guy that will go to the US and come back speaking Southern.
What up, son?
You know what I mean? And it's just because my ear picks this up,
Sure.
and it just becomes my new normal in that environment.
Man.
I think Trevor Noah says it best. You know that thing of if there's a joke he tells about Trevor.
Sure.
You
sure,
know,
sure.
he's at the gate.
Yeah,
he's
man.
talking to
Yeah,
a
man.
security guard, and it's like, who shall I say is here? Trevor. The guy's like, oh, Trevor? Quera? What? You know what I'm saying? Because he's saying it in his accent.
Sure.
But if you say it in that dude's accent, you say, oh, Trevor, the guy will immediately know what you're saying. And so I think you just kind of bridge that gap and just say things the way the native speakers of the language say it. It just makes your life a little bit easier, I think.
Man.
I think.
Well, you're a man with words, man. And, you know, you got this powerful book, bro. And, you know, I got this from you, it was about a week ago?
Yeah.
And I'm already like more than halfway through this.
You're a slow reader, bro.
I'm a slow reader because I'm not just reading, man. I'm like taking notes.
Analyzing.
You know what? I'm like analyzing this. And I'm like, having arguments with like, dude, this dude is talking nonsense. You know,
I
I'm
love
like,
that.
Yeah.
Do you know,
I don't agree with everything, but
yes.
I'm like, okay, but I get it.
Yeah.
You know? Sure.
I actually love that. I prefer that. This conversation is not meant to be a reference book. It's not trying to be the authority on any subject that I speak about in there.
Sure.
It's more meant to be a conversation starter. It's meant to be something that just kind of sparks people to think about a particular topic.
Yes, man.
And I love it when people actually disagree with me on certain things and go, Maramo, I don't agree, because that has not been your experience of what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
I'm talking about usual everyday things here and usual everyday experiences from the perspective of how I've experienced them. And, you know, and you can then differ with it.
Exactly.
You can then, but it'll get you thinking.
Exactly.
Either way. And for me, that's the most important thing. I want you to start thinking and to start interrogating yourself about some of the things. Okay, all right, yeah, okay, fine. I may not agree with him, but it has now sparked another thought, which is what I want.
Man, I love it. I mean, this is why I do this.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I'm no expert on being a man, but sure, I've 37 years of being a boy who grew up to be a man. I've got some things to say. I've got some things I saw.
Yes.
So we can debate on some things, but I want you to think about it, right?
Absolutely.
And put your own twist, your own spin to it and say, yeah, well, KG, this is it. Yeah. But respectfully so at the same time, right?
I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm not trying to change your opinions, but I do want you to think about ABC. I want you to think about that topic because then we've actually created a dialogue.
Man, I love it, man. And, you know, I think we done gave that like a nice foundation now. We're talking about our wake up women. And one of the intriguing things for me is you're talking to women, but I picked it up and I was like, man, I don't want to put this down.
Yes.
You know? And that's exactly what it's for. But you went for the jugular, man. Like, your first chapter is like, you didn't even beat around the bush about it. You went straight up into like, why men cheat.
Yeah.
And I guess also attached to that is you wrote from a perspective of you've got a lot of women friends or lady friends who you kind of tapped into their energy and conversations and put that into this book.
Absolutely.
So let's start with that, man.
Sure.
Before we get into why men cheat, you know, we had this conversation with Malusi Chabalala because in his book Magenge, he talks about guys and girls being friends, and he doesn't even get that. So you friends with women, and I've got a few women that I'm friends with, you know, that I grew up with or had relationships with. It didn't work out, but we're still friends.
Yeah.
So how do you even see that whole dynamic? You know, do you think it's changed over the years?
I do think it's changed. But, however, I see and I understand where Malusi is coming from.
Sure.
And I'll tell you why.
Sure.
A big part of, you know, my journey in writing this book started off, you know, from the perspective of a guy who's just trying to get the attention of the ladies.
Yeah, man.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, man.
Do you know what I mean? I was a single guy. I was doing my thing, and I loved the attention. I loved them kind of responding positively and going, oh, there's a guy who's different. There's a guy who thinks differently. And I wasn't fronting. I wasn't trying to be something I'm not, certainly.
Sure.
But I was enjoying being appreciated for me. It was a lot of fun. The history of the book started with Facebook. You know, Facebook says, what's on your mind? Right? I will write down whatever's on my mind. And I'm writing this because I've observed, I've looked at some things that people are saying. Someone's going on their Facebook and they're going, oh, you know, he hasn't called me in 3 weeks, or he hasn't seen me in 3 weeks. Oh. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
And I don't even want to go and start a debate on their post. I'll just come over and write my thing and say, you know what? Ladies, sometimes you actually do allow yourselves to be taken for a ride. You know? And once I've written that, it gets them coming onto that post and going, you know, you're right. And some of them trying to defend themselves and some of this, but it then sparks that conversation, which I like.
Sure.
And the reason why the book is even called Wake Up Woman, I'm not sitting there thinking I'm trying to wake all women up. That's why it's in the singular. That's why it says Wake Up Woman, singular. Because during some of these conversations, you really do feel as if you could grab somebody by the shoulders and go, wake up. Don't you see you being played here? Don't you see that this is the oldest trick in the book? Don't you see ABC? And I know about oldest tricks in the book because I've used oldest tricks in the book myself, you know? So for me, it really was it started off as a conversation with 1 or 2 people, 3, 4, 5, 10 people. You know, I mean, I think I had about 3,000 followers on Facebook at the time when I wrote the book. And predominantly they were women.
Yeah.
They were women who were enjoying the content, and I loved that attention. You know, that's just how it is.
We love it, man. Yeah, for sure.
So he's right to a certain extent. But somewhere along the way, I mean, I believe, and I've said this so many times, that I think I found my purpose through this journey. And the moment it becomes about purpose more than it is about self-interest, the easier the journey becomes. Because then I see that I have a bigger role than trying to get, you know, ladies into my bed or whatever, you know? And from that point on, it stops being about, you know, gain, personal gain. It started being about purpose. I realized that there was a bigger conversation at play. There was a bigger purpose for me. And I'm not saying the purpose is to wake women up for clarity. For me, the purpose was I'm probably a great facilitator for conversations. Big part of what you're doing. You know, you're a conversation starter, and you're not saying you're the only person with a voice. Yeah. But you are saying you're able to bring people in and get them talking.
Exactly.
And through that comes a bigger ripple effect. So that's where Wake Up Woman came from. You know, it became a bigger thing than me. And it is. It's far bigger than I could ever have imagined it to be. I enjoyed, in those days, I loved being invited, you know, in those days, it wasn't even WhatsApp groups or anything like that. It was email groups.
Oh man, yeah.
That's probably before your time. You know, you probably don't even have never experienced this.
Not really.
No. Back in the day, let me tell you what used to happen. first thing in the morning when you get to your office. And this is, you know, where most people didn't even have laptops. They were using the work, you know, PC.
Sure.
So you get to the office, you log on, you know, make your presence felt, you make your coffee or whatever, and then you go in and pick up from yesterday's conversation, because there's 30 of you in an email group, and Kushapiwa reply to all every time. You know, you get on there, reply to all. Hey, morning everybody, and then everybody's like, hey, how was your evening? Blah blah blah. It's a forum, but it's a forum of closed friends, of a good maybe 30 friends or odd or whatever.
Okay. Okay.
So in that, they will then go, hey guys, I bumped into this guy's story, this guy's note on Facebook. I want to share it with you. They share the story, and a day later or the same day, I'm getting an inbox saying, listen, I'd like to invite you to our women's forum, that chat.
Man.
What's your email address? We want to include you in there because the ladies, hey, Batuka, man, they're on fire.
Sure.
You know, what you have said has either enraged them, it's excited them, it has, you know, brought up more questions or whatever. But suddenly I'm in this group with 30 women, and we're having a robust conversation about relationships, because they're going, it's so refreshing to be hearing from a guy for a change on this topic of relationships.
Sure.
And this was before Steve Harvey, let me just add.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so you beat him to the...
I beat him to it. He beat me to bringing the book out, but I did this before he came out. I'm sounding like not that. I was the first.
That was the first one. Man. Okay, man. So, you know, that journey sounds amazing, and I love how you're laying down kind of like how it all kind of formulated and came together.
Sure.
But now let's go into it.
Sure.
The book now, and I'm sure most guys would be like, yeah, I mean, I cheat for all of these reasons or whatever other reasons.
Yeah.
But in the book, man, you talk about the ego being kind of central to that.
Number
right?
one. Yeah.
And what is it about the male ego, man, that kind of drives us to do these things, man?
You know what? I believe the ego is central to the way we do a lot of things as guys. You dress the way you do.
Sure.
And it's attached to your ego.
Exactly.
You drive the car that you drive because it goes back to your ego. Because it makes you feel some kind of way. It makes you feel good about yourself. It makes you feel this is what sets me apart. The woman on your arm or the woman that's landed in your bed is a big part of that. And that's why we are so big on going out there and telling the boys once we've done it, once we've been with a particular woman, man. Once we, do you know what I mean? People, it feeds the ego. And I'll tell you why. It takes a lot to get a woman to get into bed with you.
Well, some guys would argue different, but
let me tell you why I say it takes a lot. They argue different because they have a lot already. You either have to be good looking, well spoken, or rich. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's a bulk of the work taken off. Yeah,
that's the bulk of the work taken off.
Okay.
And when I say well spoken, I'm talking have a way with words, be able to, you know, get her excited about being in your company or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
So what I'm saying is you find yourself lacking in one or two of those things, but you manage to use the third one that you do have. That's an achievement. If you're blessed with none of those and you still manage to do it, that's a super achievement.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
So it's an ego thing. It makes you feel on par or better than the guys who do have these things.
Oh man, that's a refreshing way to see it. And you know, the reason I say like most guys would agree, and I love how you broke that down. It's like, oh, some guys look good. Like, I've got these things.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to do much.
It's an easier.
Yeah.
I'll be sitting in a coffee shop and a woman will come with a serviette with her name and number on it. I didn't do anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's a good-looking guy.
man.
It's easy for him. Similarly, a guy who has money or a nice car or a nice house or whatever the case might be, he'll pull in and he'll park close to the coffee shop, and already there's a woman who's already thinking, I would, just because of the car. Do you get what I'm saying? And that doesn't make the woman shallow. It really doesn't. There's guys who want to get in there and sit next to him, not to date him, but you know, to just experience and be around that guy. That's why Grootman culture is so big.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
We are attracted by things that are flashy, things that are not achievable to the average person. It is what it is. It's just human nature. So the moment you achieve all of these things, the moment you are able to then either make use of those things or to get a woman interested in you enough to take off her clothes for you without having the benefit of those three things, hey, you've done well. You've got your bragging rights.
Because you know, it's and I love that, man. And I always, you know, go into like your next chapter, and it's funny how this is so interlinked. Now,
Sure.
I have the money, or I'll say I have the looks, right? And people will be like, yeah, but you know, he's got looks, but man, looks can only take you this far. And I become these people that you talk about now, a reacher. I was like, well, I've got the looks, so I'll go for, you know, this one because she's feeling me at the moment. Right? But that might just happen to be a fleeting thing. They just like me because, hey, KG look good today. But 3 months down the line, hey, here's the guy with the car who can speak and who looks good.
True.
So now that's the total package. So I'm gonna, you know, so I want you to break down those two distinctions, man. You talk about a reacher and you talk about a settler, man. And we see it a lot, right? Because a lot of people end up in relationships with people and you're like, I know this dude, but he's never been for those kind of girls.
Yeah.
But he's obviously reached a certain status or place in his life where he feels like, hey, I need to start pulling these type of women because I'm on that level. Right? And that becomes something else because a year, 2 years down the line, divorced, broke up, whatever, and the guy is bitter and he's doing all of these things. So, I mean, so let's talk about that, man. Reaching and settling.
I think I heard this concept on a TV show that I liked back then. Still like, I suppose. How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they have all these theories that they talk about. And I just, you know, wanted to expand a bit on that and talk a bit about that. The fact that in a lot of relationships, there's a reacher and there's a settler. There's someone who knew that the other person was a bit out of their league, but they still went for it anyway. You know? Like you said, perfect. I love the example you gave, that here you are, you're a guy who's good looking, but doesn't necessarily have money, is not necessarily, you know, a good speaker. But you were able to get a woman who is, you know, a 10. And 10s get approached by guys who are the total package all the time.
Yeah, man.
All the time.
Yeah, man.
But somehow you managed to get her. So in many ways, she is kind of settled when she dates you. She settled because she could have gone for a guy who's the total package, but she just went for a guy with looks. Or she went for a guy with money. Or she went for a guy who speaks well, but is none of the other two.
Sure.
So in many ways, she has settled. And I'm going to spin it around and say, even with ladies, all right, sometimes there is a lady who's just pretty. Look, the game is slightly different when it comes to ladies. This is where it gets really interesting because, you know, a rich, handsome, well-spoken guy can date a woman just because she's beautiful, regardless of her social standing, where she comes from, you know, whether she has money or not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's real, yeah.
It happens. But I think the salient question here, the big question for this is, are you your type's type? Because sometimes you look at someone and you, ooh, that's my type. Simply because they possess what you desire.
Sure.
In a partner.
Sure.
But they have their own expectations. They have their own tick list of what they're looking for. And you might not necessarily be it.
Oh, man.
And I say this, you know, I love always bringing in the gender thing here to say, man, this is as true for ladies as it is for guys. So there are reachers and there are settlers. There are people who reach beyond what a person at their level would ordinarily be able to attract. And there are people who reach below what they could get. You know, you have this beautiful woman who could get any guy, and she chooses you. She falls in love with you. A big part of the relationship will be spent with you feeling insecure. Yeah. Because you're thinking, I know she could have done better.
And le machita man. Right, man. Motho wa hao man.
Yo.
Are you sure I had to man? Yeah. You know?
Yeah. What did you do? You know? They start asking you questions. They start asking, you know, type of thing. Do you know what I mean? It's literally almost as if you had to, you know, pull some serious juju to get this woman into your life. Because you're an average guy. You don't particularly have a lot of money. Whatever, you know. So whether you like it or not, it'll constantly sort of be in your face that you were the reacher in this relationship. But here's the truth. And I think this is the fun bit. Sometimes when a person loves you and they love you for you, then it really doesn't matter who's the reacher and who's the settler. In fact, if anything, she feels she reached, you feel you reached. We both feel like reachers in a relationship.
Oh, man.
That's a beautiful balance. It's a great place to find where, you know, each person keeps going, I don't know how I got this lucky to have such an amazing person in my life.
I feel like that should be like the standard, like for most relationships.
Should be,
yeah.
But man, do you know how hard it is to find that balance?
Sure.
Especially because on a superficial level, there'll probably be people who look, you know, from the outside and consider one of you a reacher and one of you a settler.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I stand next to my wife and she looks like a supermodel, and I am just an average Joe, man. I'm just a guy. But she fell in love with more than what you see, and so she considers herself lucky and blessed to have me in her life, and vice versa. I mean, I consider myself, she's an amazing person beyond the looks. Yeah. But man, when you see us walking there, you like, this guy must have tons of money or something. How did he do it? Do you know what I'm saying? So if she is a feeble-minded person, she'll end up believing that hype and buying into the, you know, how did this guy get her? And in the end, she'll even start believing it. And that's the point where people start being attracted to, or, you know, allowing themselves to be attracted by the person that's now supposedly at the level that people think she should be dating.
Oh, man. Playing yourself, bro.
Yeah.
Playing yourself, bro.
It happens. It really does.
And, you know, that for me, like, it's like, well, women kind of play that game in in a cool way, right? Like women are smooth, man. And like we often like, yeah, guys are smooth. I get it. Like, you know, we play a player. A lot of us are like, yeah, we've got the lingo and all of these things. But
Sure.
But women will like, I kind of like that guy, but like he's not on that level yet, man. I'm not gonna play him. But I'll put him in a friend box, man. That's my homie, like, you know. That's my friend there, man.
Yeah.
Like, our friend, stop it, man. What are you doing,
Yeah.
man? You know, so there's like certain liberties you're not gonna get there.
Sure.
Because maybe you still kind of in that, you know, kind of getting yourself together.
You're not
cool,
ready.
let me just keep him here until he gets ready. I had this conversation with one of my friends, and he had someone who's like, "No, man, let's go on a picnic, all of these things." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, but like, what do you think about all of that?" It's like, "Nah, man, I think this chick is trying to use me." You know, it's like, "Well, hey, you'll never know until you try it, right? So check it out and see what happens." And then sure enough, it's like, "Man, this chick is trying to get me to buy stuff and whatever, and support the kid and a bunch of different things." So like, this whole thing of like friend zoning. It's a dangerous one, man.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel like in most cases it's not done out of, yeah, sure, that's my homie for sure. It's platonic, you know. It's kind of like you're keeping them on a leash, sort of to see how far he goes, and then, all right, cool, he's on my level, sure, we can do something.
Yeah. I'll tell you what's interesting about the friend zone is people who get put in the friend zone are usually people where the woman will look and say, "Oh my God, he's such a great guy.
Man.
He's awesome in so many ways."
Man.
But like you say, maybe he doesn't have the money, doesn't have the looks, doesn't have the, you know, the well-spokenness, the whatever, the position or station in life. And the reality is, they then look and they go, "Okay, cool. I'd still like to have this person in my life." And more often than not, they'll give you that feeling, that feeling of being in her life, without all the benefits that come with a relationship. So you're getting a relationship teaser. You're getting a relationship. You get to spend time with me. I'm a beautiful person. I'm a beautiful woman. And when I walk with you, people will think we're dating. Yeah. But
Man.
That's all it is.
Man.
You know, there was a phrase, I don't know whether it still gets used now. There was a phrase when I was growing up called "Hodlala 5."
Sure. Sure.
You're playing bodyguard, man.
Man.
You are Kevin Costner, proper, you know? And it's quite, it's amusing to watch from the outside. It's sad to be in there
man.
as the guy that's hopeful for a relationship. Because more often than not, I mean, it comes from a place of you trying to get a relationship with the lady, and then but she doesn't push you away. She just keeps you here at arm's length. She keeps you at arm's length. It's oh man, it's sad. It's sad to watch from the outside because you're doing all these things that her man should be doing. You're doing all these things, man. Listen, she has a cold. She's not feeling well. She's got period pains or whatever. First person she calls is, "Dude, hey man, I've got this and that and that." And you're gonna reach deep into your pocket, take your hard-earned money to go be a good friend. And it's not something she would ever do with her female bestie.
Sure.
So you are doing these things because you're a man. And we live in a patriarchal society where you're supposed to have more money than her female bestie. Do you see where the challenges lie?
Yes,
and I mean, I know I'm really bordering on controversial in this, but those are the realities and those are the truths that are faced by a lot of guys.
Yeah.
Why is he doing all of this? Because there's still the hope that if he keeps on showing her what an amazing guy he is, what a great guy he is, she'll eventually come around and go, "You know what? Maybe I should actually just date this guy. He's a great guy." so many women are out there saying, hey man, there's no good men out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
When the guy is sitting right here in the friend zone.
Yeah.
A great guy, an amazing guy, sitting right there in the friend zone. All it takes is one decision to say, you know what, actually we should. Have you ever watched a movie, and shame, man, you know, I think Hollywood does a lot to give friend-zoned guys hope. Because you watch a movie and there's this guy and this girl, and they're good friends. And in the movie, we're sitting and we're watching and we're going, but why are you out there dating all these wrong guys? The good guy is right here next to you, type of thing. And then eventually by the end of the movie, they get together. They become a couple. It gives guys who are put in the friend zone hope. Like, man, if it happened there, it could happen to me. If I just hold on, if I do all the good things, whenever she gets heartbroken by the new guy and the new guy and the new guy, I'll be there. I'll be the shoulder to cry on. And, you know, if she gets stranded on a date with a guy, Hollywood does this thing so well, man. She gets stranded on a date. She goes out on a date with a guy who turns out to be a jerk and I don't know, whatever. And I'll be there to the rescue, man. I'll come running and I'll pick her up. I'll be the knight in shining armor. And she'll eventually wake up one morning and go, hey, man, actually, he's a great guy. Maybe I should be dating him. Happens a lot in Hollywood. I don't know if it happens a lot in practice.
But I mean, that's kind of what leads to a lot of guys like, well, hey, you know, I got played because I wasn't this guy. And the moment I get there, I'm on that level, oh man, they're gonna know me, man. They're gonna know me. I don't I don't care like who it is. Like I'm like going ham on all of them, you know. And do you think that's what, you know, besides, I mean, there's an ego, but there's also like a bruised ego, man, that creates this. It is this kind guy, but who's turned into this asshole. You know, like, can we talk about that dynamic?
Yeah. You know, it's interesting what you say. You know, there's a certain level of almost avenging yourself, trying to make yourself feel better. I'm finally there. I'm finally the guy that is now desired. You know, whether because you got your glow up, you started growing a beard and started looking better, or you got some money, or whatever it is, man. Whatever. I can imagine beards are wigs for men.
Oh wow! Okay, I didn't know that.
You didn't hear that? Hey, you never heard that? Didn't work for me, but I heard. No, I've heard them say, no, beards are, you know, and to a large extent, I see what they mean. There's a lot of guys that just, you know, literally transform once they've started growing their beard, and they look so much better. And it's oh man, look at this guy. He's actually a good-looking dude. Whatever, you know. So whatever it is, you know, you glow up or you blow up, you know, whichever one. And after that, you then become the object of more women's desire. Now, all of a sudden, even she wants you. The very woman who had put you in the... But by then, you've built up resentment, you've grown, you know? And it's like, it's my turn. The tables have turned. I'm the guy now. And then people go, yeah, no, you changed because you started making money, or you changed because, you know, you got your glow up, or whatever the case might be. More often than not, the person didn't change. They just, it's finally their turn.
Man.
It's finally their turn to pick and choose. It's finally their turn to have options. And I've got options now. Why should I settle for you? You wouldn't have me when I was still, you know, down here.
Man, on the come up, man.
On the come up, I was doing my thing. I was working hard. I was doing whatever. Look, none of that makes it okay. Let's be straightforward about it. But we're just talking about understanding it. We're talking about trying to see why it is that a person would do the things that they do sometimes. A guy sits there and thinks to himself, well, I can pick and choose now.
Sure.
I didn't have that option back then. I do now. Why should I now limit this massive potential that I have?
Exactly.
Why?
Oh man. And you know, that leads me to like these sort of loose, kind of open relationships.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like everything's just like, nah, you do you, man. Like as long as when I see you, you know, we can get our thing going. Like we good. Don't worry. I'm not too pressed by seeing you with other men, whatever. Because hey, I'm feeling myself, right? I got whatever outside. I don't know if I can pull up. Guys also wanna be like, you know, we wanna go with you, whatever.
Sure.
And it's something Talib Kweli said, man, that's always stuck with me. And he said there's too many women who are baby mamas, but not enough can say that they're wives, man. And I was like, damn.
Yeah.
You know, that's like hit me in the ribs, man. I was like, damn, okay, this is, and you know, I can say the same for men, you know, and maybe traditionally men were just like, man, as long as I got my kids, I'm good, bro. Like,
Sure.
I'll take care of them. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like that family unit is getting kind of destroyed because we're opting for, not even let me have it. It's not even planned. You know, I don't think we plan families like that. Now we just do our thing and then like, oops, we got a baby, you know. So how do you think these open relationships and kind of, I think you call it is it the cart before the horse? Something like that?
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
Right?
Man, you just took me back. Okay, so I think I want to go back a little bit here and talk about how the family structure got eroded gradually over the years.
Sure.
Many years ago, in our country particularly. We had the migrant labor system.
Sure.
Which got families used to the mother being there and the father being egoli, emamain.
Straight.
Do you know what I mean? And kids just got used to the fact that they see dad once or twice a year. If that. You know? And more often than not, he'll come back, he will plant another baby, and then he'll go away. That kind of became a norm in many of our societies.
Sure.
The nuclear family, as we know it, is not known to all of us.
Yeah, straight.
It's not known by everybody. It hasn't been experienced by everybody. You consider yourself very lucky when you grew up in a household with a mom and a dad, you know, under the same roof, present in your life.
Hey, I'm one of those guys that never had that.
Yeah,
you know? Sure.
And it then changes how you view normal. Because you could do one of two things, having come from that. You could then say, I don't want my child to experience that, so I'm going to make sure that, you know, I give my child an upbringing that consists of a mom and a dad.
Sure.
Because I want my child to have what I never had. The flip side is that you could sit there and say, well, it's normal. I got by.
Sure.
Without a dad.
Sure.
What's the problem? And you could go out there and plant kids everywhere you go and be cool with it.
Yeah.
Because that's your normal. It's the story. There's a story I love sharing of twins. These twins, one is a heavy drinker and one does not touch alcohol at all. But if you ask either one of them why they are the way that they are, they'll say it's because my dad was an alcoholic. So for the one, it was like, I never want to touch alcohol because I saw what it did to my dad.
Sure.
But for the other, it was like, that's what normal is. Normal is drinking and being drunk. It same household, same background, same everything, but very different reaction to that stimulus. The same can then be said about what you then do about the cards you've been dealt.
Yeah, man.
You grew up in an environment where there wasn't a father. You could then turn around and be that guy that has lots and lots of kids out there, and you perpetuate this thing that started in your life, and it becomes a generational curse on your family, so to speak. Or you could be the guy that breaks it. Say, well, I don't want that. I don't want that. I'm going to make sure that, we're
intact.
I keep that family unit and I do it right. So, cart before the horse, more than anything, really speaks about, how you've got to know exactly what it is that you are trying to do with a person when you make a child.
Exactly.
You've got to know, in an ideal situation, when you have sex with somebody, you've got to be having sex with a person that you are willing to have a baby with. Because sex produces babies.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's the reality. And if you're not ready to be having babies with somebody, then obviously it means you've got to be taking the right kind of precautions to prevent it. And I started the sentence with in an ideal situation. I'll end it again with in an ideal situation, because things do happen. Life does happen.
Sure.
But sometimes I think we do allow life to happen to us. We become victims of a circumstance that we created ourselves.
Sure.
We just, it's such a funny thing about the consequences of sex. Sex is amazing. It's a great thing. It's absolutely fantastic. But with this great amazing comes great responsibility. And sometimes we do forget that. And we just, and we've become so flippant about it too.
Yeah.
We've become so flippant about it. I see it all the time. I hear it all the time. Gents are talking and they're just like, hey, sure, it's again. I used the condom for the first 2 rounds. Hey, come third round, no, man.
Hey, man.
And you going straight in. As if the condom has a thing where, it's going to come out pink if this person, it's going to come out with in red to tell you, no, you're in danger here. It doesn't. So you've defeated the object of going in the first 2 rounds with a condom when you go in a 3rd round without one.
Like,
what was the point? What are you hoping to achieve? And this happens a lot. I hear about it a lot. And we will laugh about it as people, as guys, and we'll be like, hey, yeah, no. Testify, identify. I know there's a lot of y'all watching right now going,
well,
hey, yeah,
sure.
True, been there.
Come on, if you've never heard that conversation, then hey, maybe you're dealing with the good guys, man. I don't know.
Listen, I'm even trying to stay away from this being a good guy, bad guy thing, because I believe those are guys with good intentions. From how they started. Because let's be honest, some guys don't even start the process with a condom. Do you know what I mean? They go straight in, man, and they don't even think about it.
Man.
They go, no, she looked fine. She looked like there's nothing wrong.
Look sick.
There's nothing wrong with her. Yeah. No, geez, man, do you see how beautiful she is? You actually even hear it in just looking at someone and going, I don't want to lie.
Yeah.
I'm looking at her and I'm like, definitely, I'm going in
All raw, man.
All raw, you know? I'm not even going to hesitate. Because for some reason we've come to the point where we start thinking that illnesses, disease, STIs, whatever, you can see them here. Makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense because anybody could have anything.
For sure.
Absolutely anything. And, you know, I'm always careful when I have this conversation to say we've got to run this conversation parallel to destigmatizing things like HIV.
Exactly.
You know? It's not a death sentence. If life has dealt you those cards and you now have HIV, it's not a death sentence. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of your life. But none of that is saying let's not take steps to prevent it.
Exactly.
You know?
Don't put yourself at risk, man.
Don't put yourself in that position to begin with. There's a nice campaign, and I think it's the intention is very good.
Okay.
Where people are sort of calling themselves, you know, babes with HIV.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Type of thing, you know, because I have HIV and I'm outspoken about it, whatever the case might be, you know, those people. There's nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
I'm trying to remember the correct term, but they also doing it there's a forum, there's an entire forum that has started saying something like, you know, HIV year two or HIV, whatever the case might be. And I understand the intention behind it. It's to say, I'm still a proper human being. Despite it, I'm still going to live a full life. Despite having HIV, let's take the stigma away. But we've got to be careful of then getting to the point where we've made it flippant.
Yeah, man.
And we're saying, do not take the precautions to avoid getting it in the first place. We still need to be careful of that. That still needs to be priority number one.
Exactly.
You know, priority number one, don't get it at all.
Yeah.
And then, you know, if it so happens that you do contract it, then we say, okay, fine, let's destigmatize it. Let's understand that it's not a death sentence. Let's understand that it's treatable. Let's understand that but it also then comes with responsibilities. It comes with responsible behavior to not spread it, you know? And once again, even there, we've always got to be careful to say, you know what? It is your responsibility as an individual to protect yourself from getting it.
Yeah.
All right? It's never anybody else's responsibility.
You obviously, you like number one for your health.
You're number one
yes,
for
sir.
your health.
Yes, sir.
But it is a responsible thing to do to protect people that you come into contact with from contracting it. If you have it, if you are a carrier, it's just the responsible thing to do to help other people not get it, to prevent other people from getting it from you, because then you are just spreading, you know, a virus. You're spreading, and that is an irresponsible thing to do.
Man. And, you know, I'm listening to this, man, and I'm like, there's at the same time, when you talk about relationships, you often overlook, like, those things, right? The, you know, not taking care of, like, your partner, man. It's like, well, I'm just going to do my thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, well, I'll think about that later, you know? You have men who've been married for X amount of years, and suddenly, oh, this dude's got kids outside. Like, how did that happen? It clearly means you out there raw, man.
Yeah.
And it's an uncomfortable thing to talk about. But like you're saying, we have to destigmatize the whole thing and bring the truth to light. Like,
Sure.
Guys, this is dangerous stuff we're doing, you know? So you have to plan, you have to be intentional. And I guess also with the person you're sleeping with, you also got to get to know them a little bit. I think as much that we don't take those steps like too hard. It's just like, in fact, I saw her, I want to do my thing.
Yeah.
Like everything else, sure. Like you were saying, I'm going raw because of the look.
Because she looks so hot.
She's like, yo, like light skinned. Everything is you know the things. You know the things you talk about, man. But that also leads to now a divorce, right? Which is a huge thing. I had a conversation with a guy today, and we connected on a different topic. But when I left, he was like, man, you know, when you were speaking, I was thinking about like all the men you talk to, and I'm going through something right now, divorce, like the love of my life, man. And I kind of don't know how to handle all of that, right? So there comes the breakup. And in the book, you kind of alluded to men get over breakups way easier than women would. But I'd argue that we hide it very well, because a lot of us, when we're in breakup and it's our fault, man, that thing destroys us, man. You know, you turn alcoholic, your life is just out of order, man. You can't perform the same at work. You're not the same to your friends, to your people, to your circle, to your family even, right? So what is it about like the times now that divorce is so prevalent now? And sure, divorce has always been around, right? But more so in our generation, and well, I'm talking my generation, you know, we got, I think there's a guy in our soccer team, and I'm sorry to bring him up as an example, but it's something that I heard, and I was like, man, I can't understand that, but I've heard these stories so many times. They've been dating for a long time, since high school or whatever. Got married, 2 years later, dude is divorced. It's like, well, what happens, man? Is it going back to that, like you're saying, being intentional, planning, relationship contract, you know, all of those things? Like, do we actually sit and plan? And you know, I don't want to use my relationship too much in this, because I hate kind of making everything about like sort of my immediate, but I have to use my experience.
It's your experience, yeah.
We had to have that kind of conversation. Like, we never really, well, we knew we liked each other and all of that, but we never really planned to, you know, carry this on for so many years. You know, I'm 7 years in a relationship, don't have kids, not married yet, but the intention is there, right? And we communicate that. But at the same time, what happens to those guys? Like, how the hell do you get to 12 years, man? And 2 years of like, okay, now we're doing it. It's like, nah, this is not for us.
You know, in the book, I speak about marriages of surrender. And that's, you know, that's the point where you go, we've been together for so long, we might as well do this. There's actually even a song that says that. Meet me at the altar in your white dress.
Man. Oh, come on, man. Who's this? Is this Drew Hill?
We might as well do this.
This is Jagged Edge.
We ain't getting no younger. We might as well do this.
Yes,
let's get married. Come on. Do you know what I'm saying?
We want to play that as a background.
Yeah. Now, do you understand the problem with that concept? Because things were actually okay. We were okay. We were happy with what we were doing. But marriage seems like the next logical step in what we've been doing. So we then get married. But the point is, some relationships are great as relationships, but not as marriage. You get married to a person, and there's a lot of things that just seem to be, to have a magnifying glass on them. Because suddenly, even behaviors, things that you probably not entirely happy with, you start looking at them a bit closer, because you're magnifying this 10 years, 20 years, 100 years into the rest of my life. Like, do I want to be hearing this snoring for the rest of my life? It starts annoying the living daylights out of you.
Yeah, man.
And it's all because you were okay with it when you were dating, because like, that's going to be somebody else's problem one day.
Sure.
And it's not even a conscious thought. It's just something that's in the back of your mind. Like, it's neither here nor there. You know, they'll go snore away in somebody else's house one day. So it's cool. There's a lot of things that are okay that you're willing to tolerate while dating.
Sure.
That then become seriously magnified once you get married. Because this is the rest of my life now.
Man.
Oh man, you feel trapped. You feel trapped. So it's really important for you to think it through before you get married. Think all of that through.
Yeah.
Say, you know what? I want the rest of my life to look like this. It's looking amazing. And no relationship, no marriage is perfect by a long shot. But when you're sitting there with somebody, you've got to be able to sit there and see yourself next to them in 20 years' time. The looks have faded a bit, you know, the person is a bit older, things aren't as amazing. The sex is not the way it was. Because, you know what, sooner or later you stop trying to have sex to impress.
Sure.
You know, in the early days of a relationship, you out there, man.
You're working, man.
You're working. You're a 6-round guy type of thing.
Man.
You know, you're busy. You get in there. But somewhere along the way, it's like, okay, fine. What else am I trying to prove here? You know, if we're doing it once or twice, it's great. We're good. She knows what I'm capable of.
Sure. Oh man.
Even as the lady, you at some point you're done trying to impress. You're at home, bro. Your skin needs to be taken care of when you go to bed. So now you're wearing your bonnet. You've got your calamine lotion. Do you know what I'm saying? It was easy when you were dating, where you go and visit, and on those 2 nights when you're visiting him, you don't need to be, you can skip your skincare routine and your bonnet. You can let your hair suffer on the pillow.
We'll be all right, man.
Yeah,
let's just forget all that. Let's just
let's get to it. But the moment I get back home, I'm back to normal, right? I'm gonna sleep in my ANC t-shirt. I'm gonna, I'm when I'm there, I'm wearing lingerie or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? So you've got to look at this the moment you now are ready to take that big step and to go into marriage. Say, okay, fine. Am I comfortable with this person? Are we at that point where we've already seen not just the best, but the worst, and we're okay with this worst? I can live with those annoying little habits. I can live with their, I don't know, constant complaining, their whatever it is. You know, there's little things that will annoy you in a relationship, but if that relationship is a keeper, even those things you'll find endearing.
Man.
You know?
Man.
Like, I know my wife complains about me leaving a pile of clothes there or whatever when I undress, because I'm like Superman, man. When I undress, I'm just in that one spot. Do you know what I mean? And she'll complain about it, but it's not a deal breaker. It's not the kind of thing that within 5 years of being together you'll detest. And I mean, nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody knows how something will make them feel in 5 years or in 10 years. But you've got to run that scenario in your head to say, some of the things I'm looking at right now, am I going to be okay with them in 5 years? Because they're probably not going to change. Man. Look at it as a worst case scenario to say they're never going to change. If somewhere along the way this guy develops a good habit and stops doing those bad habits, and I'm talking small habits here, guys. I'm not talking about a guy who disappears for 3 weeks, or a guy who you know without fail, for a payday, that weekend, I will not see him. He's gone. You know, those are really bad habits, and those are a different story altogether. Don't live on hope,
man. So just to kind of close it off, man. Where can people reach you, man? Where can they find this beautiful book?
Okay.
And I know I don't want to go into the book and like, okay, this chapter you're talking about. This. I love how you kind of just, kind of made it relevant to now, right, to today.
Sure.
But where can people find it? Where can they purchase
I'm on social media, man. I'm big on social media.
Yeah.
You know, I self-published it, so I brought it out myself. I always have hundreds of copies with me.
Mm-hmm.
Social media, Linda Yende on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
Linda Yende, and then on all the other platforms, it's Linda Yende.
Okay.
I do want to say something real quick because I think it's really important. You know, what you're doing here is absolutely crucial. It is crucial. Guys need to be having more conversations because it's through conversations like this that we redefine masculinity. We're redefining the modern man, the man of the 21st century, because for a while now, we've actually been told who we are. For a good few years at least, there's been an ongoing campaign telling us what a South African man is, what a man is worldwide even, you know, and we need to find our identity. We need to figure out who we are as men, and we need to be very intentional about what we are projecting to the world as our image. Let's reflect, let's show that there are positive men, there are good men who are doing great things, and let's reflect on the fact that we are willing to adapt, because the 21st century has thrown us a curveball as guys. Many norms that we grew up with, many norms that we got to understand over time have changed. And I think, you know, if we do happen to, if we get a chance to come through and have this conversation again,
oh no, we definitely will.
I think it should be, the primary focus should be redefining modern masculinity, because that's a big conversation all on its own. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Man.
Let's get manned up conversations,
man. Well, my brother, I appreciate the kind words, but more than anything, man, I appreciate you for showing up here, man. I know you stay busy. You got calls coming out. Like, I'm sure when you switch on your phone right now, it's real.
I turned it upside down so that it doesn't distract me, because I know what's waiting out there. No, but yeah, man, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me, man. It's a great thing today.
I was telling you earlier that even my mother asked me for this.
Yeah.
So ladies, I think fellas,
gents,
you all gotta catch up to this, man.
Absolutely.
Read it with your lady. I think this would possibly save your relationship, or maybe put a different dynamic to it, right? Maybe let me not say it's gonna save it. There might be some arguments that will come out of it, but very necessary conversations will come out of, I think, you're engaging with this book with your woman. And man, if you wanna maybe start up a book club with the gents and delve deep into this, let's get some conversations going. But with all respect, let's keep it respectful. Let's disagree, but don't just disagree for the sake of disagreeing.
Yes.
Disagree and make some points of your own, right? That are
Let
also
it be a
relevant
conversation.
to the conversation.
Yeah. Let it be a conversation. I've had a lot of people come to me and say, you know what, this book saved my relationship. Because we started seeing each other differently, we started conversing differently after reading the book. Similarly, I've had a lot of people say, you owe me a man.
Oh man.
Because I read this book and I was like, I'm in the wrong relationship. I am holding on to something I shouldn't be holding on to. So you need to find me a man some way. But the truth is, if it's good, it'll project on the good, if your relationship is good. And if it's really bad, if it's toxic, this will project on that as well. And it will make you think one way or the other.
Love that, man.
Yeah.
So, as we always say, it's been another installment of Man Up Conversations. My brother Linda Yende is here. Man, check out this Wake Up Women. We'll put everything in the show notes. Possibly all the places you can buy online and that type of thing. All the links to Mr. Linda here. And man, we'll catch you on the flip side, yo. Peace and love.
That's right.
That's right.